Lord have mercy, look at how the time
And welcome everybody to the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. I am your humble host, John Allen, and today I have a musician friend of mine by the name of Fredrik Walmann coming at you from Oslo, Norway. Hi, Fredrik.
Hi, John. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Norway.
You had your morning coffee?
I've had 2 morning coffees, so I'm good to go.
It one up to me then. I've only had 1 cup, so...
Well, I had cut down. Now, my wife got me hooked on coffee. As you know, as a Norwegian yourself, Norwegians drink a lot of coffee.
We do.
And then my wife is a northern Norwegian. She's Samisk, and they drink twice as much coffee as the rest of Norway. So she got me hooked on cappuccino, but... I'm trying to take care of my body and, all that milk and sugar. So now I'm going back to regular black coffee.
Black coffee, that's my go-to as well. That's the only thing I drink. Wherever I go, if we're at the coffee place somewhere, I'm always going for the same thing, and that's just straight black coffee.
I'm trying to get my wife to get away from the cappuccino. I always tell her, you like your man strong and black. That's how your coffee should be as well. So... we'll see if we get her there. We'll see.
Yeah.
Now, I introduced you as a musician, and what a musician you are. These people are going to be hearing in not too long. You're going to be releasing a single.
My debut single.
Your debut single, and I want to say before you've even released it, I want to say congratulations. You sent me that song last night, and I was impressed.
Thank you. I'm really happy with it. It's turned out great, I think.
Tell people the name of your single.
It's called Feels Like. For the longest time, I wanted to call it Feels Like To Love, but it's too long, and I think Feels Like is more snappy, and I agree. It's better to introduce.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It kind of gets right to the point, and yet it leaves the listener wondering, okay, feels like what? What is it that feels like something? So that's a good title there. Are you the only instrumentalist on that single, or do you have other musicians playing with you?
No, I've made this track with a producer called Håvard Haugland. And that song would not sound anywhere the same if he hadn't produced it, because I wrote the guitar part. So what I do is I just play music with me and my acoustic guitar.
Right. Yeah.
So all the drum patterns, all the electric guitar is added by him.
Okay.
But of course I was involved with. I knew how I wanted it to sound. And he knew how to make it sound like that.
Yeah, well, a good producer is going to let you keep control of the direction of the music. Some producers step in and they just take over, and all of a sudden, it's no longer the artist's song. But
no, and for me, with this being my first single, I hadn't been in the studio much prior to this. So I was kind of like, okay... I didn't know what I could do or where my limits were, what I could say to him. But we just found like a really good tone from the start where if you had any ideas to add to the song, we'll just throw it out there. And then if it was a bad idea, we'll just tell each other.
Yeah, you'll feel it right away. You'll hear it right away if it's not a good idea. But so it sounds like you got in touch with a producer who is going to support you in your vision for the music.
Yes.
That's important.
He's really great to work with. He's made some very good songs, and he's taken very good care of me, because that's kind of the part of the music world where I haven't had any experience from before. Writing songs and playing live I do all the time, but being in studio is another thing, because you need to focus on stuff that I don't focus on when I'm on stage or I'm just writing at home.
Yeah, in the studio, of course, you're going to have to listen to, down on the basic level of details about production, balance between the instruments and whatnot. As you said, you are an artist who is usually on stage by yourself with your acoustic guitar, and that's not too much to think about. You just plug in your acoustic guitar and play away.
And at some point, it's just muscle memory. When I go on stage and I play the songs that I've played before, I'm not really thinking. It's kind of meditation for me when I'm on the stage, because that's the only part of the day where I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm just doing the music, and playing the guitar and singing. It's kind of like I've done it before. Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. But
I saw you in Oslo at Kaffe Myr, at Steinar's open mic. It was a fun evening, by the way. But that's the first time I saw you play, and you looked so comfortable. I'm like, this guy's a pro. This guy has experience at this. You were so laid back.
I'm pro, though. Yeah, no, but I want to be laid back on stage. I wanted to feel like I'm just one of everyone else, and then. Because I am, and especially at that place where a lot of the people in the audience is also going on stage. It's kind of like just sharing what you've made, and it's a really good atmosphere down there, and I really like that place.
That was my first time ever doing an open mic. I did my stand-up there. I want to come back and do some music there as well, but I kind of had the wrong impression of what that was going to be like. When I think open mic, I think of a crowd that is very skeptical, a crowd that is very judgmental. Like, okay, new guy, show us what you've got. But it wasn't. But it wasn't like that at all.
It can be.
Okay.
But I never experienced it there. But I've done. So I guess I'll tell you about my 2019, where I did 170 open mics.
170 open mics.
170. So my point with it was just to get as much experience playing live and meeting people and networking, the whole thing as possible. So I did every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I did 3 different open mics in Oslo. And then I got to meet people through those gigs. That took me to other places. So I played the 20th anniversary of this cool place in downtown Oslo called Uhørt.
Yes,
I was invited to play there, which was really cool. I played all over Oslo. Not the big venues yet.
But 170 open mic gigs, that's a guy that's focused and determined. See, now already I know why I liked you from the get-go. I love seeing people who have a vision and who take the necessary steps to fulfilling that vision. So you could, when you were doing these 170 open mic nights in the course of 2019, was that with a specific goal in mind? Were you warming up, so to speak, in order to get into the studio and do this single? What was the purpose of 2019 for you?
Well, the purpose, I think if the purpose was to get experience and to build a network. Because I think if I were to go on Idol or X Factor or any of those shows, I would have to prove myself really badly, and then
sure.
If it went somewhere, if let's say you go on Idol and you win, after that, most of the people just
fade away. Most of them fade away.
They disappear.
Yeah.
And I don't think that will happen. Hopefully, if you go through that the circle of gigging and then writing as you progress, and The point for me is just to be the best musician that I can be.
So that's what you were thinking. So that's what you were thinking with all of these open mic gigs, was that this is your training ground so that you can be the best musician possible.
Yeah, this is my education. I didn't want to go to a music school, because my goal with going to music school would be playing live for people.
Yeah.
But I can just go outside and do it.
And just do it, yeah.
Central Oslo, so I can just go out. It's the place we're talking about. It is 5 minutes from where I live.
Yeah.
And yeah,
it's a short walk to school.
It's a short.
You don't need a bus to go to school.
No, I don't even need one of those scooters. I can just walk.
That's amazing. That is, I think, unfortunately, it is a rare thing to see people with that level of dedication, because think about this: when you're doing an open mic, you're not getting paid. So no. that's 170 nights where you went out and worked on your craft, which is music, and you got nothing in your hand as far as money or as far as anything to support you. But what you were getting was experience, and you saw the value in that.
I mean, I think the value of experience, I think, is kind of underrated, because you need an education now to get a good job, or a high-paying job, maybe.
In general,
very good at what you do.
Yeah, there's some people who go into business for themselves and they do quite well without that deep education, but that's kind of the rarity. That's kind of the rarity here in Norway. It doesn't happen that often.
No, and like everyone I know, every one of my friends are doing, like, they go into university and doing all that, which is fine. It's cool if you want to do that. But I learn better by doing than by reading. And when I'm a musician, I'm rather going out playing and writing and doing my thing than sitting down and reading a book about 1,800 musicians, which I don't care about.
Yeah. I remember when I was in college, now this is many years ago, I don't even know if you were born then. How old are you?
I was born in 1996. I'm 23.
Good God. Yeah, this was before you were born. I was in college, and I took a music theory class, and I dropped that class after 3 weeks. It was the most boring, ridiculous class I ever took. And that I kind of closed the door on any formal education for music at that point. I just didn't see, it kind of told me what you said. I'll do better just doing it, rather than sitting at school and trying to learn it. I'll learn it as I do it.
But to be fair, though, doing music in school was what got me into it. But that was kind of like in 5th grade, where we had guitar practice, and my teacher was just a really cool guy, and he told us how to play the guitar.
Okay.
And I loved it. So I asked for a guitar for my birthday, and then I got it, and then I was just hooked.
Yeah.
So it has something to do with school, but not on a higher level.
I got interested. I also got interested in music in my school years. I was in 1st grade. So I was 6, maybe 7 years old, probably 6 years old, I'm going to say, in 1st grade. And we had a music teacher. Her name was Miss Ivy. She was this beautiful, as I remember her, a beautiful brown-skinned woman. And she had like those old-fashioned cat glasses that they used to wear in the 60s. And I remember we were sitting there singing some song, and she came up to me afterwards and told me I need to keep singing because I had a good voice. And that right there was all I needed. I just needed the support from that one adult in my childhood years to put the idea in my head that music can be fun and it can be something that I can do.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, why not go for that opportunity when you I just I'm struggling to find the words, but I don't see a reason not to do it if it's something you really, really enjoy doing and you know you're good at it. I mean, there's a reason why you have a podcast, and there's a reason why you do music, because you know you can have an interesting conversation that other people would like to listen to. You can make music that other people would like to listen to, and why not do it not for only for you, but for other people?
Well, I consider myself very fortunate. It's a blessing that I am able to do these things that I enjoy doing. I have my music. I write for other musicians, and I'm doing this podcast, and I do stand up. And to be able to have 4, I don't know, some people would call them hobbies. I don't like that word hobby, because hobby is something that you don't take very seriously. I take these things seriously, but at the same time, I have fun with it. And I'm very fortunate to be in this situation. You are taking advantage of your talent. You're fortunate to be in your situation. I'd like to see more people do these things that they enjoy. The worst thing I can hear a person say is when they start talking about how much they hate their job, and they're at that job, here in Norway, 37.5 hours a week. So that's 37.5 hours of misery.
Yeah, are you really happy? I know people take jobs that they don't like because it will make them more money.
And sometimes you have to do that, if you have responsibilities. But I guess if you start in your younger years, like you are, you're starting with this now already. And you will, as you become more successful in music and as you get paying gigs, you will adjust your lifestyle to that income. And that's completely different than being, 45 years old, you're having a midlife crisis, and before you just play guitar as a hobby, and now you want to try and make a living
I'm going to be a musician. Yeah, no.
That's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, but I do go every Monday, not now, unfortunately, but every Monday I go to a bar called Café Cæsar. There's a night called One from the Heart, where you can go up and you're only allowed to play your own songs.
Uh-huh.
And there's some people there which are really, really great musicians.
Yeah.
And some of them, it's from 17 to everything from 17-year-olds to 80-year-olds come there to play. Uh-huh. And we're all like a connected group. So
right.
I would never have guessed when I moved to Oslo 4 years ago that one of my good friends would be a guy that's 70. So it's connecting us. They've done music for a long time, but just now, when they're reaching this part of their life, they're starting to release music and actually going into the studio and doing it properly, which I think is cool. You've got the time, you've got the money to pay for the studio and everything, and why not? Why not do it?
Yeah, just do it. Yeah. Fulfill that dream.
Yeah, and even if it doesn't go anywhere, for me, I'm either way how this is turning out, I'm going to look back at this time of my life and have no regrets.
And that's the best way to feel, And you release a single. I can speak for myself. When I release a single, or if I've been on a writing project and written for another band and they release an album, that feeling of finally having your project out there, whether it's a single or a whole album, that feeling of having that project out there for people to listen to is so fulfilling. And at that point, I consider it mission accomplished.
Yeah.
That's before any sales, before any downloads, before any shows to play live. I win. I've won already the very minute that song is given out, or that album is given out. So when your single drops, just get ready for that.
Yeah,
that big feeling, that overwhelming feeling of accomplishment.
it's going to be like just building my portfolio is also one of the things that I'm really it's big part of being a musician. So just starting out now, okay, I'm releasing a song onto all the streaming platforms, and
it'll be available everywhere. iTunes, or what do you call that now? Apple Music, Spotify, everywhere. YouTube,
everywhere. Okay. I haven't thought about like Tidal and those streaming.
Well, what digital distribution are you using? Are you using Indigo Boom? Are you using?
I'm using. Let's see. I have some great people which I've met throughout these couple years that are helping me a lot with the distribution and making the cover art and everything. So I was told that this Record Union is what I'm using.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they have the connections to get everything spread out there on the distribution and whatnot. Okay. Yeah. Do you have
trying to get in contact with some of some labels if they're interested with the distribution? I'm not sure if they were to give me an offer, I'm not sure if I would take it, but it's like cool to just throw it out there and
What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that? Why would you or why would you not take a record deal or a distribution deal? What are your thoughts on that?
For the first single, I think it would be cool that's just me. That's just my song that I made, and I did everything. Yeah. I'm sure it will change as I release more music. But this first, the first song that I'm going to release after 23 years and lots of hard work, I want to own it. I want it to be just.
There you go.
Fredrik. Yeah.
Don't ever give up your publishing. If you get any kind of offers on a deal, if it's financially beneficial, if they're going to let you keep the integrity of your art, then go for it. But don't ever sign away your publishing rights. And any record company that tries to make you do that, they're up to no good.
And I know nothing about this, so
I can tell you this: the publishing rights is what will secure your financial future. Now, I hear a lot of musicians, especially here in Norway. I hate when I hear this. They say, "Oh, I don't care about the money. I just want to make the music." Wrong, wrong for me anyway. Okay. You can stay true to your art. You can create. You can have your satisfaction with that process, but if you're sitting in an apartment that's falling apart and you're starving to death, eventually those circumstances are going to get in the way of your creative process. So you have to think about the finances as well. And I don't know. Think about it. If you let's say this single goes to the top of the charts in Norway, top of the charts in all of Europe, for example, and
cross my fingers.
Cross your fingers, but but let's say the record company owns the rights to the publishing. Mm-hmm. You get nothing out of the success of that song financially, and that financial reward that you're missing out on could be the way to finance you to make your next single or your next album or buy better recording equipment. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of artists, they want that fame and they want that recognition, and they will sign away the rights to their publishing, and they end up losing. They end up losing a lot. You'll have a record company that will front you maybe 500,000 Norwegian crowns. That's a lot of money. That's a year's salary and then some for someone your age, right? And you might think that that's a lot of money and that's your money, but it's not really your money if the record company owns everything. That means when they put you in the studio to record, you have to pay for that, and that's going to come right back. That's going to come right back out of that 500,000 kroners. And how much does it take to? Well, you and I know we can use home studio equipment or studio equipment from our friends if necessary, and that costs pretty much nothing. But if you go in and you have to hire a producer, you have to rent a studio, all of a sudden that 500,000 crowns that you got, 300,000 of it is going to disappear to pay for that album to get made. So
then you're going to have to pay rent, and then you have to pay
exactly. And all of a sudden, you owe the record company some money, and they say, "Hey, get out there, hurry up and make another album so that you can make more money for us because you have to pay back what you owe us." And then I question, where is the artistic process in that? It's gone because now it's something you have to do, not something you want to do.
Yeah, no, it's. For me, money has never been the motivation. I mean, money or fame has never been the motivation to actually go and make music. And I don't want it to turn so that becomes the motivation either.
No, I don't think, and don't just so you understand, I'm not saying money should be the main motivation, but money will finance your way through music, which will enable you for more to make more art, and just be careful of record companies or managers also who will try to take an unreasonable share of the money that you make. I tell you this because I can see you being successful at this. That's how good I think you are, and I think you'll get, if you haven't gotten already, you're going to get managers, you're going to get record companies that are going to start coming with offers for what you do.
Hopefully, that's the plan. I have a plan that I'm following. So yeah, next step would be, I mean, I want to level up. I want to do more things. I mean, I can't work enough with the music, and that's the cool thing for me when I'm in the studio. Yeah, and it's like, I've thought about this because when I'm in the studio, I don't feel like I'm working. It feels like I'm gaming actually, because the time just flies by.
Yeah.
If I'm on Call of Duty with my friends and we start, and then suddenly it's 4 a.m.
Yeah.
That's the same feeling I get when I'm in the studio. We start early in the morning, and I have to go eat dinner and be with. I mean,
I hear you.
If I can make that being my livelihood, that would be the dream existence for me.
That's the life right there. That is the life.
I'm working hard for it, so hopefully. I mean, that's what everyone's saying. Just work hard enough, and good things will come. So,
and that's true. I believe in that. If you put in the work, then you will get some sort of reward. Absolutely. Let me ask you about the recording process. Now, you worked with a producer. Did you record at your own studio, or does the producer have a studio where you worked?
The producer has a studio, so I met him, Håvard Haugland. He needs all the credits he can get.
Shout out to him, yeah.
Yeah, we met through another great artist, which is doing a big project now called Andre Norbæk. He is releasing, I think, one song a week.
Oh, wow.
And he's producing it all himself, recording from home and doing. You should go listen to him because he's really.
What's his name again?
Andre Norbæk.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you should have him on this podcast because he has loads of cool things to talk about.
Oh man, send him my information. Tell him to contact me.
Yeah, of course. So we met through something called Rock the Mic. At the Café Sør, which is this really, really cool urban open mic each Wednesday. And we played there, and then we got to talking, and then he brought me into the studio, and Håvard was the producer on that song.
Okay.
Now that song, I don't think I recorded the chorus. Didn't fit that well, and we all knew that from the start, or from like the second day. Yeah. But I still want to work with Håvard, and so we were messaging back and forth, and then we recorded it at his studio, and we rewrote the song first day. Because we were talking about something called the musical math. So
musical math?
Yeah, because when I was writing songs, I didn't really care about like.
Oh yeah, okay, like traditional structure, and chord progressions and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and how the words sound, and that's one part of music that I haven't really talked or thought about, because my music is quite lyrical.
It is, yeah.
And I wanted to tell stories, and whatever way I want to tell that story, I'm just going to write it down and play it, you know. So when you're recording a song, it needs to have a structure. It needs to have, something that you can listen to over and over. That's the point of it.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then we recorded my acoustic guitar and me singing, and then we added everything on top. It's been a learning experience, just like for me, pronunciation of every single word.
Yeah, I was listening, as someone who is a lyricist, I do a lot of writing for Norwegian artists. That's the first thing I focused on, is the lyrical content and your pronunciation of it. But you were dead on. If you had handed me those lyrics or that track that you sent me and said, "Hey, fix these lyrics or fix my pronunciation," there's nothing to fix there. Everything is professional and in place. Good. Absolutely. Good. So good job on that.
Yeah. Thank you. And I went to Lipa. It's the Paul McCartney School in Liverpool.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. There's quite a few Norwegian artists who have been to that school. Yeah.
That school works. If you want to be a producer, my experience with it is that must be the best place to go. And also, when Håvard contacted me on Facebook, his profile picture is him shaking hands with Paul McCartney, which is kind of like, okay,
how cool is that?
Need to be at a certain level before you can wear the university hat and then go handshake with Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney's not shaking just anybody's hand. You got to work your way up to that.
I don't think so. Yeah. I think he's a really cool guy, but I think you need to get to a certain point before.
I think you have to earn that handshake.
Yeah.
Now you are a believer in networking. Like you say, with 170 open mic shows, and you meet a lot of people. Who are some of the interesting people that you met? Anybody famous or anybody who at that time was up and coming, who now has kind of made it through and maybe released something? There
has been some people that were attending the shows that wasn't playing.
Yeah.
I know that there's a really cool artist called Girl in Red.
Yeah.
She was supposed to play Coachella this year, but unfortunately, as you all know, it's been cancelled. The occasional rappers, because Rock the Mic, it's an urban scene, so it's mostly rappers, and then I come there and play my sad love songs. We have had some really, really cool experiences with just playing and meeting people in every level of music or fame or whatever.
Well, that's what I like about. That's what I liked specifically about that evening when I was at Café Myr at Steinar's open mic. Like I said, I went into it not knowing what to expect. I was expecting probably a hostile audience, and like I said before, it was quite the opposite. But that mix of people that I met there, I can't remember the name of that band. There was like a 4-piece band.
Yeah,
those guys.
Yeah.
But they
I've only seen them.
Yeah, but meeting them, and that was a totally different style of music. Meeting some of these comics, wow, what a crazy group of guys they were. Yeah. But interesting people, and then you came with your acoustic thing, and just seeing that blend of people all in that one evening. That to me, that's motivation. To me, that's fascinating. It's just being in that artistic atmosphere that a night like that creates.
And you could imagine, like, for me, it was the first time I went there, I thought it was just a stand-up night, an open mic for stand-ups.
And to be honest, that's what I thought as well. I had no idea there would be musicians there as well.
Yeah, right. So when I got there the first time, I was like, okay, there's going to be stand-up. Then I'm going to play some ridiculously sad love songs, and then there's going to be stand-up. That isn't the case there. I mean,
it's a good mix, actually.
Yeah, it's everything from music, stand-up, drag queens. I mean, whatever you can imagine. I saw one guy there just pouring toothpaste all over himself. So that was
that kind of art. Okay.
And, I mean, whatever you want to do. Yeah. It's an open mic, so you can do whatever on that stage.
Well, it was a fun evening for me. I'm going back there next time. I want to go back and do music though. And experiment with that side of myself in front of a crowd. It's been a while.
And there are more stages as well where you can go if you want to do more nights. So I've found all of the open mics and all of the places where you can play in Oslo, and I'm trying to connect with everyone so that when they're having a concert or when they're having an open mic, I'm the first one they call.
That is so cool.
That's
the power of networking. That is the power of networking.
And it's weird to think about me 5 years ago when I was just like a year from moving here, and I was a really introverted guy. I mean, growing up, red hair, bit of a stomach. I had my really, really good friends, which I'm still really good friends with. But I didn't have a big network. I was kind of with the same guys, the same girls. But now, I mean, I can't. I live at Grünerløkka, and I play all over here. And now I almost can't go outside without meeting someone I know. And that's a feeling.
That's a lot of personal growth in a short period of time, because that's what it is. Putting yourself out there and doing this thing that we call networking, it's nothing more than just opening yourself up to new stimulus from new people, and that you have to grow in order to do that. So you've been on this journey for the last few years, and you've grown as a person.
I've grown as a person. I've grown as a musician. Yeah. My network has grown. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that hasn't grown is my wallet. That's just getting smaller.
All it takes, but you know what? All it takes is one song. What is that band called? There was an 80s band called the Rembrandts who wrote that song, the theme song for Friends, the TV show.
Yeah.
They had nothing before that. I don't think they've had anything since then, but that one song, and I would imagine their wallets are pretty fat.
Yes, and that's an iconic song. Yeah, you can't listen to that song without clapping. I mean,
exactly.
Everyone knows that song. So I've never watched an episode of Friends. I still know that song, word for word.
Everybody does, yeah. So it only takes one song, and it just goes back to that old cliche. If you put in the work, the results will come. Patience and focus.
Yeah.
Patience and focus. It gives results.
Patience and focus.
Now you write. It seems like, if I remember right, from the couple of songs that you played when I saw you, those songs were kind of laid back love songs. in the same genre as your single. Is that where your focus is these days?
Yeah, when I'm writing, that's the focus. When I'm playing live, I'm trying to read the audience. So when I'm making music, it's I don't know how it got that way, but I think 90% of the songs that I write are love songs.
Well, who is the lover you're writing about? Because that's where it comes from your experience.
Yeah, no, it's I'm not in a relationship, nothing like that. I mean, I'm a bit of a sponge, so I take in whatever I can get. So I've written about specific girls. I've written about, like, I've tried to put myself in the situation of someone else. How weird that is. I mean,
yeah, that's not weird at all. No.
No, but
I can tell you as a songwriter, that's not weird at all.
No,
you know, I write, some of my stuff is biographical, you know, things that I've experienced myself. Some of my songs are things that I have observed. Some of my songs are things that I've been told by others. So, you know, there's nothing weird about those different sources.
No, so it's kind of just been that way. And my biggest idols, that's kind of that's a recurrent theme of all their songs. I listen to, like, of course, Ed Sheeran is one of my great idols.
Talented musician. I love that guy.
Yeah, really talented. And as your prior question, if there was anyone cool I've met, I got to talk to Ed Sheeran for like 5 minutes once, just me and him.
Ah, cool. Cool.
Yeah, that was real cool. Just a quick meet, but still.
In Oslo somewhere, or?
In Oslo. So he was doing promo for Divide. And I found out that he was at the Thief in Oslo. So I went down there. No one else had found out. I sat outside for about an hour, 1.5 hours.
Yeah.
He just came out. And his security guard was like, just let him put his bag in the car and he'll come talk to you. I've thought about that a lot before I met him, because you always wanted to meet some people, you know, and I thought I'll be very nervous, but he just made it very natural and very, very cool experience.
That is so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell that he has met a lot of people like me, and a lot of people like, oh, you're Ed Sheeran. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Well, that's just cool that he took the time. Yeah, that's cool that he took the time to actually have a conversation with you, not just sign an autograph and walk away.
Yeah, I wanted to do the selfie, and he was just like, he grabbed my phone out of my hand and took some cool pictures, and I was like looking around. Yeah, no, it's cool. Like, it's really cool. Go on Instagram and see the picture with me and him, because
I'm gonna do that.
I posted it on the Ed Sheeran subreddit, and people were telling me that he looked like the fan and I looked like the celebrity because he was taking the pictures.
Now that is a sign of him being a cool guy. That is cool. How do people find you on Instagram? Is it just by your name, Fredrik Walmann?
Just my name, Fredrik Walmann, yes.
Yeah, so people will see that in the description of this episode. So go in and check his Instagram out, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get my followers up. I'm trying to expand.
I've had 3 cool experiences with actual musicians or people in the music world. The first one I had was back in 2005, maybe. There was a Norwegian band called Hangface, like a hard rock metal band, and they put on this. It was a songwriting and performance competition that Hangface put on. So I had my band and we performed, and then through that, I found out that the great Eddie Kramer, you know, the sound man for Jimi Hendrix, the sound man for Woodstock, He was the producer for Kiss. He produced or engineered a lot for Led Zeppelin. Eddie Kramer was their manager and record label executive at that time. So Eddie Kramer shows up at the night of the performance contest, and I performed, came off the stage. See, I was a little more aggressive than you. And then I went and looked for him and found him. No, I'm sorry. Actually, my wife found him. She was pregnant at that time with our daughter, with her big belly pushing her way through the crowd at this hard rock metal concert.
Mr. Kramer.
And she grabbed him physically by the arm and brought him over to me as I was looking for him. But he actually talked with me for about 20, 25 minutes, about a half hour, actually. Just talking about music. It was one of the cool, Eddie Kramer. That's one of the coolest experiences I ever had as a musician.
Yeah.
And then from that conversation, I and my band, we ended up doing, I think it was like 2 or 3 nights after that show, we got booked to do his record company was having a party down in Lillesand, down south, right on the ocean, right on the beach, and we played. We played for his company's party there, his record company's party. Played.
That's how it happens.
Yeah,
that's connecting with people. They're just people like everyone else.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. I would never have thought that he would take the time to talk to me. But he did, and he just showed his humanity. He's just a normal guy. He likes good conversation like anyone else. He's just, I'm sure it's
normal guy with a strange job. That's
well. There you go. There you go. Yeah. And then another one I had a 2.5 hour car trip where I was driving Elliot Mazer. Producer for Neil Young's Harvest album. He produced Linda Ronstadt. Elliot Mazer was here in Norway, a friend of mine, where I had written the lyrics for his country album, and Elliot was here to produce it. And to make a long story short, Elliot had to leave the studio early. You've heard of Lars Voldsdal. In his studio, where the Hellbillies always play there. Yeah. So we were recording there, and Elliot, for whatever reason, that's a whole other episode about why he had to leave. But he had to leave, and he needed someone to drive him from that studio, which is way up somewhere in Østfold, and drive him back to Drammen. And I'm like, I'll do it. So there was a 2.5 hour car ride with Elliot, and that was a very interesting experience. And then the third experience was my wife and I were at a Prince concert at Oslo Spectrum, front row, and Prince sweated on my wife.
Yes. That's a great experience.
Well,
Prince, there's something about talking to people with a lot of experience and with
there's always something to learn.
Knows their craft, and I have so many questions for people like that. Most of the time, they're working so hard they don't have the time to answer all the questions. But when you get to drive 2.5 hours with one of your idols,
I can tell you, Elliot told me that he says, John, I probably am enjoying this more than you because I never get a chance to just talk with people. He told me that. And I get that. When you're that famous and you have that many projects, people are always pulling you in different directions, and you have to keep thinking business. And you don't really get too much, according to Elliot anyway, you don't get too much of the person-to-person contact. It's always big meetings, or you're talking with a whole band, and you just don't get to relax and just talk with someone about music.
Yeah, I think that's why some of the big artists feel really lonely when they're on tour. And they have people screaming their name every night, and they're playing for 30, 40, 50,000 people, but then they go back to their hotel room and it's just them.
You know who I really respected for their whole way of handling that situation? May he rest in peace. Neil Peart, the drummer from Rush. He talked about, he wrote a few books, a few novels about this. He would have a motorcycle, and the tours would be booked with enough time for him to take a couple, 3 days between each show and ride his motorcycle to the next place where he was going to play. And of course, along the way, he wasn't staying at 5-star hotels. He would stay wherever it fit to stay. And then in that process, he would meet normal people like you and I, and he would just get to relax and just be a regular guy.
Just be a guy that's good at playing music.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, one of the people I listen to a lot is Damien Rice. And I think he now he has a sailboat, and he just, when he goes on tour, he just takes his band with him, and they go on a sailboat and then just sail wherever they are going.
Wow, how cool is that? Huh.
He's done some big shows, and I think it's kind of like, okay, I've done all of that now. I can just do what I want, and then sail and have a good time and play in the evenings and eat good food and drink wine, and then it's less work. Work.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I guess it helps. I think of Neil Peart. He always looked he looked like somebody's uncle. He didn't look like a rock star. So I guess if you keep your hair cut and maybe don't shave for a few days and don't wear leather from head to toe and just be a normal guy, I guess it kind of helps to blend into society.
Yeah. I'm never going to sell music.
You're not going to wear a leather suit?
Just based on looks. I'm going to try to make good, as the best music I can make to make up for my appearance.
Oh, come on now! You're not that. I'd give you a hug. You're not that bad.
Oh, the next time I see you, we'll hug it out.
I tell you, I was really impressed when I saw you perform. There are a couple other musicians who perform. There are a couple of them just with an acoustic guitar themselves, and I saw the difference in the professionalism. In other words, you were so much more at ease performing by yourself than some of these others. But I guess when you've done as many shows, 170 open mic gigs in 2019, like you said, being on stage is really nothing to you.
When on the first time I went there, because this is the thing that I've thought a lot about, that I mean, devise the people that just I want to do music. I'm great when I'm singing at home in my room and I can write songs. There's a difference going out and actually playing it for people.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
The first time I went out to play, I was really, really, really nervous.
How big was the crowd in front of you?
15, 20 people.
Yeah, see, it doesn't take much to make you nervous when you're new, yeah. How did it go, though?
It went okay. I had to sit because my legs were shaking so much that I couldn't stand.
Wow.
And I was kind of like bent over my guitar, had the microphone down low, and I just kind of I was in a ball. And then, at one moment I just thought, okay, what can I do to make the next time I play live more enjoyable? So kind of just have to, relax your shoulders, breathe, and just, you have time. And I was watching the other guys who was more experienced than me, and I was kind of like trying to observe them. Yeah. What are they doing? And they were all kind of like going on stage, talking for a little bit, and making like, okay, this is nothing. This is just for fun. I'm only here for fun. This is something I like to do. Yeah. And I think that's if you go to an open mic for the first time and then you play and it doesn't go as you expect or as you want, there's a difference between the people that go back there the next time and play. Yeah. Okay, I want to do better the next time, and the people are like, okay, didn't go as I wanted. I'm not going to go back.
See, well, that's an interesting. That whole performance thing, that whole thing of being on stage is so interesting to me. I like to watch others do it, and I also like to do it myself. Now, I've been lucky in that playing my music, I've never had a bad experience on stage. Never had that. So maybe I'm kind of spoiled in that sense. But with stand-up comedy, I've done terrible a couple of times. I've really bombed. And that is such a...
part of it, though.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say it's such a great learning experience. So I've gone up there and tried new stuff, and none of it is working. But you know what? It doesn't bother me. I embrace that experience because it's a learning experience. Because I can go back. I always record everything I do with my stand-up. So then I can go back while that feeling is fresh. As soon as possible, I go back and listen to it. And, oh yeah, this is why it didn't work, because I messed up the punchline, or I messed up the story. I said it backwards, and I always figure out why it went bad, and then I've learned something.
Yeah, I mean, for stand-up, you also get, or you want immediate response from the audience. You want laughter.
Yeah.
When I'm playing, I want people to be as quiet as possible.
Yes, Yeah, that is one thing that if it's a soft, quiet number, and then people are out there just talking and kind of ignoring what you're doing, that's just not a good experience.
I mean, 90% of the 170 gigs were in bars, whereas there are going to be people that are just there to drink. They didn't know about the event that night, and they're there to talk with their friends and have beers. And then I get on stage and I'm like, I need your attention right now. I see they're like, nah.
Not tonight.
Nah, not tonight. But then that's the fun of it, though. How can I get those people? How can you get
them? Yeah, I
actually want to watch me.
I do have one occasion where things didn't go as I planned. It wasn't the whole show, but in part of a show. I was playing with my band at Smuge, when Smuge was still up and going in Oslo. And, the whole set, it was a mix of ballads, a little bit of rock, a little bit of funk. So it was a mix of songs. So we played this one funky song that I had. And after a couple of verses, there's like a breakdown with no, just a funky groove.
Yeah.
No lyrics. So I shout out to the audience. I say, y'all can dance if you want to. And they all just stood there looking at me with their arms crossed like, nope. And that is probably the most embarrassing. Yeah, that is a moment where things didn't go as planned in a music performance.
But sometimes audiences can be really hard to read. I thought I've done a really good job. And then, the response hasn't been that great. And then other times I feel like I've messed up, and then people are...
Yeah, sometimes you just get the wrong read. Yeah, sometimes you get the wrong read on the crowd. Like, after that, y'all can dance if you want to, and they all just stand there looking at me, and then we played the rest of our songs, and we got this huge standing ovation at the end, and then for like 2 hours afterwards, these people were coming up to me and congratulating and stuff, and it was a shock to me because I felt like I failed. I felt like as the lead singer, as the front figure of that band, I failed because I focused on that one episode during that one song. So I read that crowd totally wrong.
Yeah, and for me, the thing with people are not going to dance to my songs, but I often try to get people to sing along.
Yeah.
And that's not an easy job because people don't want to sing when they're just sitting and drinking beer.
Yeah.
And some of my songs and some of my friends' songs that I'm doing the circle with kind of depend on people singing along.
Right.
It's kind of part of the melody, and when no one is singing along, it can be quite awkward. It's getting better, though. It's getting better, and people are more likely to sing along if it's a no song.
Well, it's a difficult situation as performing music. When the crowd's not getting it, you can try and sing better. You can try and have a little more intensity, or you can try and change the vibe in the by the way that you're presenting that song. But the crowd is going to be what the crowd is going to be. But what I find in stand-up is that you can, if you're good and if things match up right, you can change the way the crowd is responding. I have this thing where I'll say, you guys aren't laughing, but this, I know this shit is funny. I'm a good comic. You guys are just a bad crowd. You know, I flip it on them like that, and sometimes they'll kind of loosen up. They'll stop taking themselves so seriously, because I think sometimes that's what it is, and then that'll change the whole flow of the show. But I don't know, when you're especially when you're standing there alone with an acoustic guitar, you kind of have to just keep on going with what you had planned, regardless of how the crowd is going to react. Yeah.
If I'm in a song, if I'm doing a song, someone start to talk. But if I'm between songs, I mean, some of the people I work with that do these nights. So, for example, on the Rock the Mic night, people are there to drink, and I'm ruthless when I'm on stage. So I just go, okay, if you're going to sit in the first row and talk, would you mind moving to the back?
So you'll actually get them on that. Okay.
Yeah. I always say that. I always say that, like, shushing them, and when I'm on stage, and you don't want to. I guess it's the same. If you don't want to heckle a guy, if the guy on the other hand has the microphone, the guy with the microphone is always going to win, regardless.
If they know, well, because I've seen some people that can't handle a heckler. I like it when they heckle. Stand-up, when I'm doing stand-up, I like when they heckle, because I just incorporate that into the show with my comebacks but music, I don't know. I'm trying to picture myself telling people to shut up so I can sing.
It's a barrier, but it's just a thing that if you've done it, and some people are there to actually see the show and listen to the music. Yeah. And that's the people that I'm trying to sing to. Yeah. And I feel that way when I'm at concert as well. If I've paid to go see one of my favorite artists, let's say, and then the guys behind me are shouting the lyrics as the artist is playing. Yeah. There's a time for singing along. There's a time to be quiet. Yeah. No. And by the way, with heckling, I went to see the great Dave Chappelle in Oslo.
I missed that show. I didn't get to see that. Yeah.
No, but he did his hour, and then 30 minutes into the hour, someone heckled him because he was talking about the same topic that he was talking about in the Netflix special that's already released. Okay. And then one girl was shouting, "Say something new," or something like that, and he was really, really ruthless. He was like, "Okay, tell me the punchline to this joke. Tell me the punchline." Because if you can tell me the punchline, then you're correct. I'll never do this bit again. But you don't know the punchline to this bit, and then the rest of the rest of the show was just improvised crowd work. Yeah. And to see a guy go on stage at a big stage, Oslo Spectrum, and just own it, and people were laughing hysterically, and people were all quiet. He had us in the palm of his hand the whole time.
That man is a wizard on the mic, and you bring up a very good point. A lot of people just think of Dave Chappelle making you laugh, but Dave Chappelle makes you shut up and think as well. I've seen some of his bits where people are dead silent, listening and thinking through what he's talking about. Yeah. So he can raise and lower the emotions and change the emotions.
It's really emotional. And then he, spoiler alert, but he ends the show he ended the Oslo show by quoting Biggie, because he was like, "What's the best invention that ever came out from the US?" And it's hip hop. And then he quotes, I think, almost a whole, like the entirety of a Biggie song, and and then what's the name of that artist? It's a real big artist. I can't remember his name right now. But he brings up like a really, really famous rapper to just do one song at the end of the show, which is like, okay, you're Dave Chappelle. You can do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
And
that guy is a wizard, I tell you. He's one of my stand-up heroes. He's somebody I look up to with stand-up. I also like Bill Burr, Louis C.K., Chris Rock.
Have you seen the latest Louis C.K. special?
You know what? Don't tell me anything about it. I haven't had the time. I have to listen. I have to watch that special when I can be left totally alone. I can't have my wife and kids in the house because I want to be able. My favorite living stand-up comic is Louis C.K.
Yeah.
So I am so geared. I am totally hyped up to watch his special. So if you've seen it, don't tell me anything.
No, I'll just say it's really good to have Louis C.K. back. I mean,
I knew he would come back.
Whatever he did and however bad it was, I think you need to divide the artist from the person from the art. So he's a really, really good stand-up comedian, and no one can tell me anything other than that.
But you know what? I'll go a step further. Okay, you can separate the person from the art, but I'll take it a step further. What he did was wrong, but doing something wrong does not make you a bad person. I'll tell you why I think he is probably a decent person, because when he got called out on these things that he did, he didn't deny it. He said, yes, I did that. It was years ago. It was wrong. I'm sorry. And then he stepped away. That tells me that he's a decent person. Just because there's this thing going around in society today that says that you have done something wrong, so you are condemned to hell for the rest of your life. And that's wrong. I don't believe that.
Kevin Hart with his tweets and how he get to do the Oscars.
That they would dig up some tweets.
Wrong, but you stand up for it and then own it.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. I'm not sure I want Louis C.K. dating my daughter. But I don't think he's this evil devil of a man either.
No.
I believe he did some things that were very wrong, and he hurt some people by that. But I believe, we don't know if he went to those women and apologized. We don't know. We
don't know. And
he probably did, as a matter of fact. But we don't know that he didn't. But people are assuming that he did these things and he felt that there was nothing wrong about it. But that's just not the case, not as I see it.
No, I've gotten a lot of respect for that man, just to see how, like with Dave Chappelle, how he just goes on stage and have full control.
Yeah.
And just he speaks to the crowd, or those two guys speak to the crowd in a way that you need to have done it 1,000 times before you can do it that way. Yeah. And to me, that's like seeing a great guitarist and then imagining him sitting on his bedside and I mean practicing, because you can write. I've never written stand-up, but I imagine you can write stand-up at home, but you never know if it's any good before you've actually tried it out.
Yeah.
They've had to write pages and pages and pages and trying it over and over and over.
Exactly right.
And working really hard. So what I appreciate with those guys are just how good they are.
That's hours and hours and hours of repetition of trying and failing and adjusting and then try it again and then rewrite it. Yeah, that's. I've heard Bill Burr talk about his writing process as a stand-up comic, and Louis C.K. does it the same way. Also, when they do their special, they'll do their 1 hour special, then they throw away all of that material and they start over. They start writing, and it might only be a couple weeks of writing, and then already they feel ready to go and do maybe 10 minutes. They'll show up somewhere, they'll do 10 minutes, they'll see if that 10 minutes works. If it works, they might fine-tune it a little bit, and then they'll try to write another 10 minutes. And then the next time they go out in a couple weeks, after a couple weeks of just polishing that first 10 minutes, now, after a few weeks, they've got 20 minutes and so on. And they just work on that for a year until they have a 1-hour special ready.
Yeah, to bring it back to the music, I mean, the song that I'm releasing, it's not a new song. It's not a song that I've written to be my first single. It's one of the songs that I've written
interesting
within the past 2 years. And I've played it live, probably 200, 300 times, different places, everywhere, played it at home. I know that song, and it's finished. And I'm releasing it hopefully in July. Which is, I think, 12 or almost a year after I'd written it, because I found the original, I filmed myself at home after I've written a song, just to have it on repeat and then listening to it myself. And that's not the same song at all. I've
totally different feel.
Yeah, and the music is different from what I'm playing on the guitar. It's evolved into the song that I'm releasing now.
So you take whatever amount of time you need to take in order to polish that song and make it ready.
Yeah, and I have 3 or 4 more songs that I know are ready to be released, or at least ready to be recorded.
Yeah.
But after that, I don't want it to be a year gap until the next time I'm releasing music.
Yeah.
So
consistency is very important.
Consistency and being consistent with giving or releasing good music.
Yes, you can't just be pumping out songs but they're crap. Consistency with quality is important. I'm very frustrated. I'm having a great time doing podcasting, and when the quarantine or the isolation is over, I'll start having fun again doing stand-up. But my music kind of stopped. I lost, my son died in November 2019. And ever since then, something is just, I can't write music.
Oh, wow.
And actually things, how do I put it? Things happen. He was a grown man who unfortunately made some stupid decisions. It was a heroin overdose.
But sad to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. But that kind of put a stop on all of my creativity when it comes to music. But in order to get through that frustration and pain and sadness, I focused even more on my stand-up. And I actually have a bit that talks about my son's addiction and what he may be experiencing now in the afterlife. So I kind of put that into my stand-up thing to kind of try and deal with that. So it's just.
Do you think you can joke about everything?
Absolutely, and I do joke about everything. Yeah. You only saw a little bit of my stuff, and that was all new material that I did at Steiner's open mic. But I talk about everything. There's
and I agree. If you do it in the right way, in the right context.
Yeah, I don't say anything to be mean. What I say might be on a very tough subject, but I'm not talking about it to be mean. But I think my stand-up is what has gotten me through these months after my son died. But I am starting to get a little more creative. So to hear you talk about how the song that you release now is something that you've been working on for a couple of years, I can totally identify with that, because I had released 4 singles up until November of last year. And so when I go back to my music now and I polish up the music that's been sitting there, some of these songs are going to be 2, 3, or 4 years old.
Yeah.
So and that's something that people might find interesting, is that a song that is new for them might be old for the musician.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's going to be the thing I'll have to work the hardest on after releasing all the songs that I've already written and already know that are finished. Because, as I said, I don't want it to be. I want to have some form of consistency. So I want to release music. It's hard to say now because I haven't started on the projects yet. But I want it to be. I want it still to be fresh. The first single should still be kind of fresh, so people have listened to it, and then when I release the second single, I want it to be like, okay, so I've listened to the other song, now I'm going to listen to this song that is released.
What do you think that'll be? Like maybe one single every 3 months?
Hopefully, it depends on how much studio time I get, what happens. So,
do you have any? Do you have any studio equipment of your own so that you can record, or do you have to go into?
I'm not good at producing.
Okay.
And I want it to be.
You want it to be professional and yeah.
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 I wanted to everything that I'm going to release. I'm going to have to be really, really happy and proud of. And for example, the song that I've sent to you and the song that I'm releasing first, I probably listened to the unmastered version of that hundreds of times.
Yeah, yeah.
And just sitting with my notebook and go, okay, at 13 seconds, my voice cracks a little bit, or something like that.
Yeah.
This word I've pronounced slightly wrong, so I'm really going into like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm trying to go really in depth, and then
there's a lot of different thoughts on that. I'm kind of, I want all of my work or any work that I'm going to be involved in, I want it to be done professionally, but there is such a thing as overproducing it to where you take all of the funk out of it. And when I say funk, I mean that cool thing about the song, regardless of what genre it is. You take that good stuff, that human stuff out of it because you've overproduced it. You've overthought it. There's a lot of different thoughts on that. But I don't know. I guess I would never want to fall into a position where my search for perfection gets in the way of my productivity.
No.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But the perfect thing for me is I'm one of the guys that I listen to a lot is called Foy Vance. Foy Vance made an album in a famous studio called Fame in the US, where all the musicians were in the same room at the same time, playing, doing different takes, of course, and then adding it up together. But it just sounds real, and it still sounds really professional, and every level is where it should be. But it sounds like someone's actually playing the music, not just like programming it into
analog versus digital.
Mm-hmm. And that sound for me, I think, is the sound that I'm going to be looking for. But it's hard to do, you can't just, I can't go and hire 5 professional studio musicians.
Back to the whole thing with finances. Yeah. Well, do you have any friends who well, I don't know, that might change the whole dynamic of your project, because then it's no longer a solo project, it becomes a band project.
Mm.
Yeah.
Since I'm only playing on my own, I debated if I wanted to just keep it 100% just me and the guitar, even on the recordings.
Yeah.
But I wanted to have, as we've talked about, I wanted to have some commercial success as well.
Right. And you can have that with just you and an acoustic guitar. You could have that success. You know, you could, but I think if I understand your dilemma properly, if you have a situation where you're bringing in a bunch of studio musicians, that's going to be impossible to recreate on the road live solo. Yeah. So you got to balance that out, I guess.
You got to, because I want to. That's also a part of being an experienced live artist, is that when I release a song, I want to be able to go and by my own play that song for people. Yeah. And they will be like, okay, so that's the song. That's the same song that I've listened to on Spotify or wherever. And I want it to sound the same. I want the same vibe. Because eventually the thing I want to do is play shows. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really cool to be in the studio and work on music, and I really, really enjoy it. But my love of music comes from playing live and meeting people and
it shows.
Seeing impact on people. I think it's that's very cool. So you make people laugh and you make people cry with your music. But just I've chosen a really hard job where I'm singing sad love songs for people, and my point is to make them feel a bit of the same that I felt when it happened to me.
There you go. Yeah. I can identify with that. Absolutely. Yeah. But so, do you write in such a way that you because there's something about I've written songs and people ask me, well, what was that song about? And then I just flip the question on them. Well, what do you get out of that song? And they'll have an idea completely different from what my idea was when I wrote it. How important is audience interpretation of your songs to you? How important is that?
It's really important, but I feel like it kind of, I mean, I'm not writing music for anyone but myself.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to try to...
You're not trying to impress anybody.
No, and none of your thoughts are original.
No.
I mean, every thought that I've ever had or will ever have, someone else have thought about before.
But the way you express that thought is very individual, and that can be extremely unique. So,
yes. Yeah. So I guess when I'm trying to, when I'm writing, I'm trying to express myself in a way that people will understand how I felt, and maybe they've felt the same way. Maybe, they've been in a similar situation, or maybe they could listen to the song in another way where they can interpret it as the situation that they've been in. Not necessarily the same situation that I've been in, but the music is still speaking to them. When I'm sitting down and writing the songs in my room, it's just for me. When I play it for people, it's not for me anymore. It's for everyone that's listening to it.
That's almost exactly the same way I look at my songwriting. I quite comfortably and openly say that I write for selfish reasons. I'm trying to work something out within myself or for myself. And then after that process is done, then I can just hope that someone else finds something within my message that they can apply to themselves. But first and foremost, I'm doing it for myself.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like therapy for me. I've never been.
I use that word a lot. Therapy, absolutely. It's music is therapy. Songwriting is therapy for me as well. Yeah,
I just get it out. Yep. I just over and done with. I have this song which will last forever. And some things are too hard for me to write about. Like, for instance, if I've lost a family member, my grandfather and I were really, really close, and he passed away. It's years ago, but we were really, really close, and I've tried to write songs about that, but I just can't.
Well, I totally understand it. Like I said, I've been in a dry spell for songwriting since November, since my son died.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, there's a song in you about your grandfather. It's in you,
There's a song
eventually,
somewhere.
eventually it will come out.
Be really special though, because I want to honor him with that song.
It will be when it comes. You'll know that that's the song, and you just let it out. Some people try to chase songs. I can't do that. If I sit down to write, and sometimes I can have a strong feeling, a strong emotional response to something that happened or that something that was said to me. So I'll go and I'll sit down and try to write with every intention of writing. But then all of a sudden, I can't. And I used to try and chase that. I'm like, wait a minute, I just felt something. I used to try and chase that, but I don't do that anymore. I'll just stop.
What I do is whatever I'm doing, if I'm on the train or walking around, being around people, I'm always thinking about music or lyrics.
Yeah.
And so I'm on my phone and just in the notes app, writing down sentences. Then I think about that sentence when I'm walking around, and then that could be a good idea. So I write another sentence, and then when I get home, I sit down with my notebook and I just what I've started to do recently, just write down whatever I'm thinking of on the first page.
Yeah.
And then I try to find some structure, try to find the sentences that I can work into the song, and then write from there as a kind of starting at the end and then building you up the bottom. And that's the only way I can write now, because if I just sit down with the guitar and try to write something, it's going to be I can't phrase myself in the same way as if it's actually natural or a song that I'm...
I see, yeah.
And it kind of gets just dull and flat. That's
I think the way I look at it is I never chase a song. The song has to be there. It has to be natural. And if I sit down thinking that I have a good idea, but all of a sudden it doesn't feel right, then I just stop. Yeah. Otherwise, at least for me anyway, it will show in those lyrics, or it will show in that melody that there's nothing real about it. That I had to chase it, that I forced myself to write something. I can't do that.
And I want to be proud of my songs when I go out and play them. I don't want to be this might be a good song. I'm not sure yet, because I know when a song that I've written is good. I know as I'm writing it. I wrote a song yesterday, which I'm really excited to be working on, because I think that's lyrically the best song that I've ever written.
Cool.
So now it depends on how the music and everything blends together, but I think it's going to be a really good song, and that's why I like songwriting, because it's intriguing. I want to work on it. I want to and the songs that are kind of the songs that doesn't make me feel that way, I don't want to work on. And then I don't want to play them live. Yeah,
it goes back to writing for yourself. You have to like it. You have to impress yourself. I always feel like, and I don't think there's anything egotistical about this, but I feel like I'm writing the best music in the world because it's the music that I like. I am satisfied with it. And,
it's the music you want to listen to.
Exactly. And then hopefully enough people will agree with me. But first and foremost, I have to like it myself. It looks like you think the exact same way. And I think that's a healthy approach to songwriting. You see people get very depressed and upset when they go through periods of writer's block. It can be frustrating, but it never really upsets me. I figure that's just my body, or my mind rather, dealing with the thoughts that I have, and it's just not ready to be expressed. But eventually it will come back.
It's also a question of motivation. What's your motivation by writing that song?
Exactly. I've never sat down and said, I need to write a hit. I always sit down and say, I need to write something that's going to do something for me, that's going to move me, something that's going to affect me in a positive way. That's my first thought.
And I've met some people during these 2 years who were like, okay, I don't want to be a good musician. I want to become famous. Wow. And that's when I stopped working with them. Because that's the motive. I mean, okay, I see why I want to be famous, but do you just want to be... my motivation is writing my own songs and making my music. Yeah. Not having 10 people write a song for you. That's... I mean, it sounds good, and you could be a really great singer or whatever, but yeah,
there's a certain amount of there's a lack of art. What do you call that? There's a lack of art in that. It's part of that pop music factory, and I don't know. That doesn't do anything for me. Again, always the first thing I have to do is satisfy myself, and then secondary is recognition, money, fame. Now, of course, I would love to be well known for my songwriting or for my music or for my performing or whatever, but the first step is that I have to be satisfied with it.
Yes.
I'll never put out a song that I didn't write myself. I'll never put out a song that I don't like. Never.
No, but the only thing that I'm kind of like, the only thing that I'm jealous of those people are that they can go on stage and be fully confident in a song that they haven't written themselves.
Yeah.
And just, okay, this is my song. Even though I haven't written a word of it, I went to a studio and had the demo play over 5 times, and then I recorded it, and now it's my song. And if you can go on stage after that and play it and make it your song, that's cool. But most people can't do that.
I tell you what's a little bit sad in those situations is you get a big star like Beyonce or Rihanna or somebody like that, and they have 10 songwriters who, forget about if it's 10, maybe sometimes it's only a single person who has written a song, and Beyonce wants to use that song. And you have a songwriter, maybe somebody like me, who's sitting in his poor little studio at home, and oh my gosh, Beyonce wants my song, but for her to perform my song, I've got to give her 65-70% of the royalties of the publishing rights. And to see that there are songwriters who will actually do that, it's a sad situation, because maybe they're in a financial situation where they need the money, but it's sad that they are exploited by these big artists who take a huge percentage of the publishing rights to these songs.
And I listen to Beyonce, and I listen to Adele, and I listen to all the big artists, and I take inspiration from them, because the people that
I'm not knocking their talent, but I guess what I'm doing is I'm putting a big black circle around that phenomenon of songwriters giving up huge portions of the rights to the songs that they've written.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between a performer or an artist and a musician.
Oh yeah, there's a definite difference. Absolutely.
And I always listen to musicians.
Yeah.
But I see why people listen to just performers, and why people
a catchy tune,
the big show. Yeah, and it's a catchy, easy to listen to song. And the song that I'm releasing is hopefully going to be easy to listen to, and a song that people want to listen to.
It's a well-written song. Yeah, it's a well-written song.
Thank you. And yeah, I get it. I see, but when it turns into just the machinery, where the artist isn't really involved in just in the writing process or whatever, that's where I fall off.
That whole pop music factory thing is just so unappealing to me. Now, of course, I'm saying that, and nobody has ever offered me $1 million for a song. we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
But sitting here as a artist and a songwriter, that whole factory mechanism that exists today, I think it's a sad thing. It's taking the art and the musicianship out of music. And what is music without art? What is music without musicianship? There's so much focus on the performer, but not the musicianship.
I don't mind it as long as there's still space for real musicians not real musicians, but musicians to actually have success.
So you don't mind sharing? I don't want to share. That's mine. Get out of the way.
Yeah, I'll write for other people. That's fun. But
sure. And I'll write for other people too, but not at the expense of giving up. If musician X comes with a piece of music and they'd like me to write lyrics on that, I'll do that. And then we share 50-50 in the whole project. And that's fine. But what I'm saying is some of these bigger artists will come in and they haven't written anything, but they will demand like 65%. And I don't understand that. They haven't written.
It's a brand name.
I'm sorry, say again?
It's their brand. I mean, if I were to sell or give a song to Beyonce, it's going to do better.
Sure.
Much better than it would have been if I just recorded it and released it myself. Which means that the 35% that's left that I own of the song is going to earn me more than I would if I owned 100%.
That's very true. But isn't there something wrong if you have written the whole song?
Yeah, and I
but
agree with you.
But you have to cut out, 65-70%.
Yeah.
And you haven't.
But I see why people do it. That's my point.
Do. Sure. Okay, yeah. I thought we were going to argue for a second here. No, I see. We agree.
No, we agree. Yeah. But I mean, some people just like to write songs.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that they want to do. And maybe they're not the best singer, or they've understood that, okay, I'm better at producing and writing.
Yeah.
And then they still want to have a good musical career. I mean, that's the path to go. I mean, not everyone's going to stand on stage. I don't have. I like that because I mean the competition is smaller. If everyone who wrote songs were on stage,
there'd be no room.
It would be real hard to break through.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you. I'm just kind of pointing out this phenomenon where good songwriters have to give up so much in order to have their song be sung by an artist. Why is it that you and I, let's say you came with a piece of music and a melody, and I were to write lyrics on top of that? How come you and I can share that, but when it gets up to a certain level, there is no sharing? Someone is just taking, and you get whatever's left, and there's just something wrong. I agree. There's something ethically wrong in that process, and that's where the money side of things get in the way of the art. I can just collaborate with someone, and there's nothing to think about when it comes to money. We worked on it together. We share 50-50. There's nothing to think about. But you get up to that certain level in that corporate thing that exists in music, and all of a sudden the art takes a back seat, and now everything is about the finances. Yeah. And there's something wrong with that. There's
even examples of, there's a great Norwegian artist called Dagny.
She's good.
Yeah, she's really, really talented and great musician. And I think it was Katy Perry took one of her songs, I believe, and then just made it herself, and then released it as a Katy Perry song with different lyrics and I think that they must have made some difference in the melody.
The core of the melody was exactly the same, though, and then they just made a few different changes in the arrangement. Yeah. And that's okay. So that says to me that, okay, Katy Perry, cool performer, cool artist. I like her when I see her in interviews, and she's great, but she's not the greatest musician, and she knows that. And it's just enjoyable music to listen to, and it's just made to reach a lot of people, and and in the end, I think it just gives people happiness and gives them joy. So she's got her fan base, and they love her, and she adds something to their life. But then again, you look at that whole corporate process that enabled her to take a song from someone else. Well, I shouldn't say too much, because I don't know if Dagny ended up getting any kind of proper compensation.
I don't know that either.
Yeah, I don't know that. I know there was a lawsuit, but I never did hear anything about how that turned out.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe Dagny got what she should get.
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well.
No, she's cool. She has some really cool songs. I wonder if that lawsuit gave her some more. I mean, if people's eyes were open to Dagny after the lawsuit, then maybe, that was a good thing that Katy Perry took her song. Yeah. So yeah.
I guess I'm talking all this shit now, but I guess I wouldn't get mad if Neil Young stole a song of mine. I mean, I would make some noise, but I would also enjoy.
Excuse me, Mr. Young, that's my song, and then go to lawsuit, and then people would be like, okay, so this guy actually.
Who is this guy? Who is this guy, John Allen?
Yeah, I'm about to listen to his music now because he wrote that Neil Young song. So, I mean, it's not the worst thing that will happen to you.
No, it's not.
Yeah. And there's also a trend now. Ed Sheeran was in a lawsuit because the owner of a Marvin Gaye song thought that he just took the whole melody. And there's some great YouTube videos on that where they break down both of those songs. And yes, there is patterns that are similar.
Yes, there are.
I mean, Ed Sheeran did it himself. He actually, when he plays, is thinking out loud, and he sings he covers the Marvin Gaye song in the middle of thinking out loud when he's live. So he's aware of it. This is not a secret. Yeah, but if you're popular and people are going to try to exploit you, I think, and people are going to take advantage. Yeah,
that's when you need a good team of lawyers to take care of those things for you, so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, lawyers! Oh, boy.
Let's stay away from them.
Let's change the subject. No lawyer talk.
And no lawyer talk.
So we kind of got away from something I wanted to ask you about, and that is your timeline. You don't really have a timeline. You don't really know how often you want to put out singles. But if I put you on the spot now and you have to answer, what would you like to do? Would you just like to release singles? And if you just want to release singles, how much time in between? And if you want to release an album in the end, how many singles would you release before you released an album?
I made a plan for that. So I thought that I had my plan was to make an EP and just to release that EP as
4 songs, 5 songs?
4 or 5 songs. Yeah. Then I sat down with Håvard Haugland, the producer, and he told me something that was completely the right thing to say, but it kind of it wasn't the easiest thing to hear about yourself, and that was no one is waiting for music from you. No one is waiting for me to release any music because I haven't released any music.
Right.
And I mean, some of my friends and my family and maybe some people that I played to live might wait for me to release a single or music in general. But what we're trying to do now is like build. I mean, how can I pronounce this the right way? We want to build the amount of people that are actually waiting for new music. So whatever time that takes for, I think I'll see pretty quickly, hopefully, how the first single is going to do. And then the next single will probably do better faster, even though it might not be a better song. Yeah, because people are actually tuning in to my world of music.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do now, and since I haven't been involved in releasing any music before, I think it's really hard to say exactly the time schedule. But I want to, as I said earlier, I want to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
I want to be consistent. So, yeah, depending on how long it takes to make the song, I'll hopefully within 2 months, 3 months of the first single.
Yeah. I would think anywhere from 2.5 to 3 months in between single releases is a good way to go. And a lot of people stress about that album process. But if you have a goal, let's say every other month you release a single. That means within 12 months, you have 6 singles out there. And in between those releases, if you're still writing and you're still recording, it's very easy, in a sense, to have an album ready to go after 14, 15 months, ready to release, you know?
Yeah, and then again, I want the songs or the music that I release to be finished and a good representation of the song that I actually wrote when I wrote it.
Yeah.
So
it's a whole process.
It's a long process, and it's for people listening that are not into making music. I think they would be surprised of how much work it is just to make 1 3-minute song. I mean, you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. The easiest part really is to just write it and then you have a song. That's what you have. You have a song. Then you have to record it, find the arrangements, and make. I mean, I've made changes in the lyrics. I need to find cover art. I need to find a distributor. I need to make the money so that I can pay the producer. It's a long process.
Yeah,
it is.
Very long process. It is.
But as you build relationships with people that are doing the same things and want to work with you, I think it's going to be easier and easier. And for now, music isn't the only thing I do, because I need to pay rent. I need to, I need to have food.
You have to live,
You have to live, and you have to do, I mean, but if I could only think, breathe, and live music, then it wouldn't have. Yeah, that's the dream, and that's when the singles are going to come regularly in 2, 3, maybe an album a year or something. It's hard to say. It's a hard question.
That is a difficult question to answer, because that process can vary. You know, sometimes, as we mentioned before, we can sit on a song for a couple of years before it's finished. Yeah. That recording process can happen quickly, or it can, it all depends on the arrangement and what amount of perfection you want. Sometimes that recording process can take several weeks, if not months, on one song. So.
Yeah, I think we used about 3 months on this song.
Yeah. And that's typical.
We could have done it faster, but Håvard was changing studios.
Okay.
So, but that was fine, because then I had time to listen to the rough demos and read the lyrics that I've written together.
And in the meantime, you're still writing new stuff. right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think at the time when we started to record this song, that was my best song.
Yeah.
But now, after those 3 months, I've written 3 or 4 songs that can compete, and at least 1 or 2 songs that I know are better.
That's a healthy thing.
Like
no, go ahead.
Yeah, it is. But still, I want my first single to be the best song that I have written.
Could you picture yourself, let's say you write a song that's just killer and better, even better than the one that I heard. Can you see yourself shoving that one to the side and then starting on this new song and making that the first? Even though you're so close to giving out this song, the current song, would you put that away if you wrote a song today that you felt was better? How locked in are you on this one song?
The thing is, I'm really happy with the song, and I kind of think that I'm overthinking everything.
I think you are.
So now
but
I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, I'll just release this song.
Yeah,
it will do whatever it will do, and I will try to make it as popular as I can. But it's the last opportunity I have, or it's the only opportunity I have to release a debut single. But it isn't the last piece of music that I'm going to release.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. You haven't asked me for my advice, but if I can give you some free advice, I would say stop overthinking it. You are a talented young man. That song that you sent me is beautiful. And you should just, of course, keep writing. But regardless of how you feel about which song is best, you already know that you're not going to record something that you don't think is at least good for yourself.
No.
So just release this single, and then when you get the next song done, release that one and just keep on going. Don't overthink. Yeah, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Because the thing is you will get better without even thinking on it. You'll get better. Each song you write is an improvement. Each song you record is an improvement. And the whole time you're learning. So it's going to get better. It will.
Even in the process of recording this song, I've seen that I've escalated pretty quickly in the levels of recording a song.
Well, you probably have become a better musician because now you can hear your mistakes very clearly.
Yes, and I know now my opportunities, what I can do with the next song, and how that experience is going to be. Because the first time I walked into that studio, I was kind of nervous. I'm never.
I can imagine that because that's a totally new experience, being in a studio to record.
It's a brand new thing in music, and it means the world to me. And it's the thing that I'm not experiencing it at all. So it's. Yeah.
I think it's motivating. I mean, you're just, if we go back to 2019 with 170 open mic shows, we go forward into where you are today, where you have a single that's almost ready to go. You've been writing the whole time. You've been in the studio for the first time. To me, it's just motivating because you have taken very concrete steps, very clear steps towards bettering yourself as a musician. And so many people talk, but you're doing. Big difference. Big difference.
I talk as well, though.
Well, that's okay to talk, but you talk while you do. You are writing. Yeah. You have recorded this single. It's almost done with the mastering and mixing. You're moving on. You're moving along.
I don't want to sit still. I don't want to get to a point where I'm just not evolving in any way. Yeah. So I want to, now with the coronavirus thing, I can't play live. There's nowhere to play live. So what we did with Rock the Mic was we got in contact, or the two guys, Tom and Eric, real great guys and one of my closest friends now, got in contact with another place in Oslo, and we did a real good live stream. And they contacted the artists that they've had on stage at Café Sør. We had the 3-camera thing, and professional, cool, and we didn't stop. That's what I like. We didn't we didn't just take it as a break. We had to adapt and find a new way to actually do this, and we did it, and we're continuing to do it. So
that's just fantastic. I like seeing that. I like seeing people taking positive steps towards achieving whatever they want to achieve, and you're doing it.
I'd say I'm ambitious, maybe too ambitious.
No such thing as too ambitious.
No such thing as too ambitious. Well,
ambition with focus and ambition with humility. You can't get arrogant in that process. But as long as you stay humble and you stay focused, then ambition is a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I believe that.
I'll play for everyone. I don't care if it's. I mean, doing those 170 gigs. There are gigs where I played for 2 people in a bar somewhere. Yeah. And there's 2 people sitting there, and I'm playing my whole set. Like there was a room full of people cheering and having time. And I played bigger shows where I've opened up for artists that are more known than me, where the crowds are actually there to see music and the crowds are bigger.
Yeah.
So you kind of get the taste of like what it's going to be if I get there, and that's
a good feeling.
Yeah, I'm going to work hard for that.
There you go.
I am working hard for that.
Keep the vision, man. Just keep the vision. Yeah. Well, listen, I'm going to cut this off right about now. I have...
We've talked for almost 2 hours now.
We've talked for about a minute and 50, or an hour and 55 minutes, roughly.
Wow. Yeah. Time flies. And have fun.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I support you, Fredrik. Anything you ever need from my end, man, I'll support you. I think you have a future in music.
Likewise.
I think you're going to achieve whatever you want to achieve in music. You've got the right vision. You've got the talent. Yeah, keep on marching on.
That's very good to hear. I need people telling me that, because it's not always easy to believe in yourself. But thank you very much. Thank you.
My pleasure. Well, listen.
I look forward to seeing your new stand-up bits and everything when this whole thing is all over.
I'll give you a holler next time I'm in Oslo. But I think the next time I perform anything in Oslo, it's going to be music. I'm going to get up there with my... stupid little left-handed acoustic guitar and see what I can do. Yeah,
that would be cool if we stand next to each other and play together, and the guitars pointing in different directions.
There you go. Yeah,
aesthetically perfect
and color coordinated. The white guy and the black guy, and then if I have a white guitar but you have a black guitar. Huh?
Oh. I'll quit everything and just focus on that from now on. All right.
Hey, work on some harmonies, man, and sing each other's songs.
That would be great.
Well, I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode. This gentleman is Fredrik Walmann. He is a fantastic musician. Eventually, his single called Feels Like will be coming out. We love you, Fredrik. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This has been real fun.
All right. Bye, everybody.
I'm coming home. Yes, I am. Yes, I'm coming home. I'm coming home. Yes, I am.